Hello, everybody. My name is Catarino Gonzalez. I named my PowerPoint Drunken Homeless Indians. It's pretty much from the story What Upon I Will Redeem. Sherman Alexie. He, it's the theme that I chose was alcoholism. So let me go ahead and get started. Um, in this one, we have a image of a teepee and bunch of three Native Americans. Looks like a family, and they're enjoying time. They love being next to each other, and this is completely opposite of what Jackson Jackson is going through in the short story. Um, the quote that I selected was "Homeless Indians are everywhere in Seattle." Um, Pretty much all these homeless Native Americans are together, but they're not family. They're to them they are family, but this is what they're missing because they chose the street, because they chose the alcohol, and because of everything that they're going through. So this image completely is the contrary of what they're going through, and I'm sure that they miss this, but the alcohol consumes them so much. Next one is a campsite, bunch of tents, and you see the American flag represented that you are in the U.S. In this case, they're in Seattle. The quote that I chose was, "One day you have a home, next you don't." Um, Jackson Jackson moved to Seattle from Spokane to follow his dreams of going to college. Everything went down the drain once he was consumed by alcohol. Once he began going to the street. He says that he was homeless by choice, but I think that the alcohol just took so much of his life that he left everything, every his future, his path, everything that he was going for went down the drain once he took up on the alcohol. And here shows that he has nothing no more. He just has the streets and the tent. Um, this one is the image of the Marines planting the flag in Iwo Jima, but in this case, they're planting it over Native American face. The quote that I selected was, "I am living proof of the horrible damage that colonialism has done to us skins." In this case, Jackson Jackson was saying that, he's the perfect representation of what, Europeans did to his people, in this case, introducing them to alcohol. Redskins didn't know anything about alcohol. They never consumed it. It wasn't part of their life. But once European brought it to them, they were just consumed by it, and now everything revolves around it, and they have a huge, huge epidemic of alcoholism. So I believe that these words were considering the fact that they're surrounded and they're just immersed in this alcoholism, this poison. So that's why I selected this, and it's just a perfect representation of the white man, being over on the Native American. The next image is bought three bottles of imagination. Jackson Jackson says that once they got some money, him and his friends, the first thing that they could do was run to the store and try to get some imagination. And imagination was their alcohol. It was what made them think, what made them go forward, what made them feel sane, what made them feel complete. And in this image, you see two people drinking. One of the bottles has fallen, and it just represents the struggles that all these homeless Native Americans in Seattle and the story are going through, just like Jackson Jackson and his friends. You can see the imagination of a Native American coming out of a bottle. So I just felt like this was a perfect representation of what he meant by imagination. He's just letting down his ancestors that didn't drink or that didn't believe in that. So I felt like this was a great, great image for that. Next one is a how we brown people are killing other brown people so white people will remain free. This quote is an actual, this image is a quote of Kanye West. It says, "Drug dealer by Jordan, crackhead by crack, and a white man get paid off of all of that." So in this case, it was Jackson Jackson's grandmother tending to a Maori soldier who had lost his legs at the war, and pretty much just saying how they're out here fighting, and they're out here, putting their life at stake for the white man to live free, to have the freedom. And then I felt like the image of the quote was, you know, the drug dealer could be a Native American, could be Hispanic, the crackhead can be black, could be any other race, but white. And who is getting paid from all this transactions, is a white man. He's the one who has the freedom. And in this case, we're representing crack as alcohol. Um, it's tribal. It's an Indian thing. When you win, you're supposed to share with your family. This is what Jackson Jackson said when to the Asian lady who was tending the store when he won on a scratch off. He said that it's a tribal thing, that sharing has to be done. Like, you're never above the pack itself, so you need the pack to survive. And his pack was his friends, his fellow homeless people, his fellow alcoholics who wanted to be and enjoy alcohol with him. And in this case, I feel that the hands are representing one homeless person and another just holding each other down, holding each other to the bottle and to the alcohol and to this poison. This is just a bunch of shots. This is when Jackson Jackson goes to the bar, and he doesn't know any of the Native Americans in there. He says Indians like to belong, so we all pretend to be cousins. Me and all my cousins here are going to be drinking 80 shots. He didn't know any of them, but when he came up on money, all he wanted to do was share. So since that was the way he was taught, the only thing that he could share was either alcohol, drugs, or just being alone, or just his money, whatever he had. If he had for food. But in this case, we're talking about alcohol. So they were sharing shots of whiskey that night. So this is a way of living his native style. This is a a glass of red wine. I feel that the wine is red, represents the Native Americans. The cup is the hole that he's fallen into, or he has already fallen into, and he just cannot get out. I emerged from the blackness and discovered myself walking behind a big warehouse and didn't know where I was. My face hurt. I touched my nose and decided it might be broken. So this is just pretty much the image of him. He's fallen. He's in a hole. He can't get out. And it's the darkness of the bottom of the actual red wine. It looks dark. That's the dark hole he's in. The red itself, it simplifies all the Native Americans, all the red people living on the street, living under this influence of alcohol. Um, what the hell are you doing here? You dumbass, you passed out on the railroad tracks. Um, this is just a police officer waking a drunk Native American up saying, um, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? In this case, it was Officer Williams speaking to Jackson Jackson once he found him at the railroad tracks, after he had gotten beaten up by that bartender at the bar. It's just everything that he goes through once he passes out. He doesn't know what happens to him, or how to get over it, or how to function. This one, I was lonely for everybody. That's what he said when he was drinking with the natives from Alaska. And this is a young Native American kid he's just sad. He doesn't know, what the future holds him. Um, and just because he's surrounded by all this darkness, and everything he sees is alcohol and alcoholism and violence and sorrow and sadness. I feel that that's what Jackson Jackson was going through. He had no idea, and he said that he was an alcoholic and a homeless by choice. It wasn't by choice. He was trapped, and he just didn't know how to admit it. I just think that he felt comfortable in that situation, since that's all he knew for the past, several years. Um, I think that the alcoholism in the Native American community is a big, big issue, and it should be people should be educated more about it, and just hopefully, and we pray to God that everything turns out for the best for their community and for their future and for the young ones who are coming up, just like this one. All right, this was everything that I have, and thank you so much for listening, and I hope it's what we were looking for. And these are the citations. So I have 11 citations. So we'll see how this works out. Thank you so much for listening. You guys have a good one.